Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of Not That You Asked, where me, your host Kai, talks about anything and everything that no one asked me to talk about. And per usual, we have our guest host Ashley here. But before we go, I didn't even tell Ashley this, but I knew in my head I wanted to talk about this really briefly. Before we get into today's topic, y'all, I just wanted to talk about Insecure for like a hot 5 seconds because the season's ending. I mean, the series is ending in total, and it's so sad. Like, what? I want to know, are y'all like Team Lawrence or your Team Nathan? Make sure y'all let me know. Go on my socials and let me know. I don't know. I don't care where you put it, but just let me know because I just been wanting to talk about this for the longest. Anyways, we're just going to get into today's episode. And today we are talking about postgraduate life, like life after we graduate, where we are now, how different does it look from where we thought we were going to be, and just all that, because there's a lot that goes on once you graduate that no one talks about. Everyone talks about pre-college life. Everyone talks about college life while you're in it, but no one talks about after. And I think we need to talk about it. So that is what we're doing today. And so actually first, I guess, just tell the people, where'd you graduate from? What was your major? And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for now.
Okay, so I'm Ashley, I'm the co-host. I have 2 degrees. So I have an associate's degree. I graduated from Hostos. That's my alma mater. Seems like I can never leave this place. I'm going back there again.
Oh, okay.
I'll get into it a little bit later, but I have an associate's degree in liberal arts, and I have a bachelor's degree from Lehman College in social work. And I'm currently working on like an EMT certification, which will it'll culminate at Hostos because I can. It's like the 7th dimension of hell.
We love college life, so we just keep going back because we're so addicted to putting ourselves through trauma. It's just so much fun. But for those who don't know, I graduated from Lincoln University, the first historically Black college and university, well, first degree granting historically Black college and university. And I graduated with my bachelor's in health science. Well, yeah, that's my major. Anyway, you get it. Right now I am currently going to community college to get some extra classes that I needed just to be able to apply to grad school. Whole process. It's kind of on my fault and then kind of not at the same time. But yeah, I'm here, I'm doing it, and that's the plan right now. So we graduated, and now we're at this new stage of life. We're kind of just trying to go and navigate things. And as you heard, we are both like still in college life. Like somehow it sucked us back in, and now we're back. And it's like, why do we do these things? I wish I knew the percentage of the amount of people who go to college and then like end up going right back because they find out they needed something extra, or they feel like what they did wasn't for them. Or I wonder, I knew that percentage, but I feel like a lot of people a lot of people that I know of, they end up graduating, but then they still find themselves going back. I mean, whether it's for a major, PhD, or just for whatever reasons.
It's hilarious because for prisoners, this is called recidivism. When you go back to prison,
Crazy.
That's what we're doing. I think for me, one of my issues was when I graduated. So I graduated in May, and I was like so burnt out. I was like, oh my God, finally, I finished this one accomplishment. And then I was like, oh, wait, what the hell else am I supposed to do? Like now I'm bored.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like staying up late studying for exams. I'm not texting like I don't know these people because we only knew each other for class. Like so I didn't got no friends besides the ones I had before I went to college. And then I didn't have anything to do. And I was like, well, maybe I can just go back to the books because they always like a criminal. I can just always go back to the streets.
Honestly, I feel like that's exactly how it is. It's like I don't know if they know that they're doing this. They probably do, but it's like this sick tunnel of like education that like you're just sucked into because it's like you from kindergarten up, you're in school, you're always in school. And sooner or later, as you hit high school to college, school becomes your life. And it's really hard not to let that define how good of a person you are or what you're capable of. So then you find yourself, I guess, like feeling like nothing.
Right. And also the thing is, like you said, you go to school from K through 12. Like those are like the most formative years of your life. And school is not for like 2 or 3 hours. You're in school for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
You're in school for 8 hours a day for 12 years of your life. And then some people just tell you, oh, well, you're done now. And you can, if you want to,
Yeah.
continue on.
It's like we almost become weirdly addicted to it unknowingly. Like unconsciously, we're like addicted.
I'm consciously addicted. I'm addicted to like getting educational achievements. Like right now
Yeah,
I'm training to become
that's
an
it.
emergency medical technician and I'm already bored. I don't have the certificate yet. I'm like, I want to be a paramedic now. I need to raise my blood pressure a little bit more. This is not enough for me. I want to have generalized anxiety disorder, not just anxiety.
It's crazy. And I feel like that's where a lot of people find themselves post-grad. Well, you know, some people call it post-grad depression. And I feel like in a weird, not in a weird way, but I think I realized that maybe that's what I was going through at that time because I had just graduated. I didn't really have anything lined up. And it's really hard when you see these other students. I guess they have stuff lined up. They know exactly where they're going, exactly what they're doing. I didn't. I just knew that now I needed more classes because I failed to realize that I needed these classes for grad school. And so coming out of school, I was just like home all the time, doing like absolutely nothing until I could even get back into a community college to do school. So I found myself just like feeling worthless, like compared to other people. I think that's a problem, comparing myself to other people, but just, you know, school just took over like such a big part of my life that I felt like for once it was like I had nothing to feel proud of in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't find myself being proud of anything else in my life except for the fact that I was going to school at that time. So then now being out of it, I was like what is life?
It's also like when you go to school, and I remember reading an article about this. One of the reasons why people do feel like post-grad depression or like they feel like the post-grad blues is because when you go to school, you're working towards a goal that's incrementally broken up. And then when you graduate, there are no more incrementally broken up goals. Every goal you make, you incrementally break it up. There are no more semesters. There's no more syllabus. Like there are no more rules. Like life does not operate on the same rules that a college operates on. There's no finals week. There's no midterm. Every day is a test. Every day is an assignment. If you don't get it, you don't get it. And the stakes are a little bit higher, especially if you just don't know what you're doing. Like I don't know people who like live on their own, but like I didn't know what I was doing when I was looking for an apartment. And I was like, well, there's no book to read. I don't know. I don't know what to do. There's no class I can take. I'm just confused, right? So it's like I'm going back to what I know. I know I can read a book.
What
I
you
know I
know,
can
what you're
pass a
comfortable
final.
with, like what you'll know you'll succeed in. Like that's one thing. I feel like I might not have always been the top, but I've always been somewhat successful in school. Like I've always been able to get, you know, these certificates for just being Black and excellent. Like, you know, like I've always been able to somehow reach some kind of plateau or goal in school. So I felt like, you know what? School is where I thrive. And that's sad to say, but that's all that's all you know. That's all you know. So I'm like, dang, now I don't have this like thriving point in my life. Where am I going to thrive at now?
I've also noticed though, like then like again, in like life outside of college, nothing is intellectually stimulating. People are not having conversations about like readings you did for a class discussion. People are just living their lives, like scrolling on Instagram, like taking the bus, like driving their cars on the highway. No one's like talking about like, well, what did Socrates mean when he said that? Like there are no intellectually stimulating conversations. So I think that's also what people are looking for. People who go back to school, they're looking for an environment where people are like working towards a shared goal. And people are talking about something that's like intellectually stimulating. I can't tell you how many people I've had conversations with where I'm just like, do you ever read books? And people like very proudly say, no, I don't read anything. Or like, I don't know anything about this. Like I've been out of school for years. And it's like, that's a little odd. But like, what have you been doing since you've been out of school? Because I've been back.
I'm not the biggest book fan, but if I have to hit a book, I'd find a way. Like sometimes I find myself re-going, but like I'll re-go over my like health science notes so that I'm always up in that subject because that's where I plan to go. So, you know, every now and then I'll do that. But it's like, again, school. And it's weird because even though I find myself in school now, it's like as stressful as it is. I'm only taking one class right now. As stressful as it is, I'm like, I got this. Like when I'm taking a test, like I feel the most successful when I could like reach that percent goal that I wanted. Or if I'm doing good in the classwork, you know, it's just a certain, I don't know, feeling that you just like, I gotta have it.
I also think as people who are Black, like we are in a very unique position because years ago, people who look like us, we weren't allowed to read, we couldn't write. So I think there's also that, like culturally speaking, like I know I'm in a position where like I'm doing stuff that people who look like me could not even dream of doing. Like going to college, like an all Black school, that was unheard of like a couple hundred years ago. So it's like we're literally like living out the dreams our ancestors just couldn't live. So I think it's also like that's also playing in the background. Like I'm doing stuff people who look like me could never do because they just didn't have the access or the opportunity. So it's also playing in my head. Like I've obviously been given a gift to read. I've been given a gift to like understand information. Like I must do something with it. Right?
Yeah.
There's also that. And like I think for a lot of people who go to college and it is really stressful, it's because we're going to college because like this is our life. Like we were told we can get out of poverty doing this. And other people who like go to college for the parties and like the social aspect, they have people paying their tuition. Like they have people who are like, hey, it's okay if you fail the class. We own the library. Like so it's a different experience when you're not going just to go. Some of us are not going to go. Some of us are going because we need a way out of like our current economic situations.
Yeah. Or we even have like people looking at us, you know, to excel. You've done so long excelling, like why wouldn't you keep doing it? And it's like they look at you to be the best. It's like you're working 20 times hard, putting all the effort in.
And also the question still remains, like, what the hell are you supposed to do when you graduate? Like, I mean, I don't know. I went to school for like 12 plus years of my life. Like, you tell me I'm just supposed to like not go ever again? Like, it sounds weird.
It's so weird. And I think, well, I want to ask you too, but like, I feel like the pandemic also, I don't know, because, you know, when you're in school, I feel like your mind frame is like completely different because for people who know, I've lived on campus. So, you know, when you see everyone else around you figuring out their goals, or they would have like people from different jobs come in, like job fairs, you know, for graduating students and stuff. And because I didn't have that opportunity because we were home, whole pandemic, I feel like it definitely weighed in on how I was feeling post, because I felt like I should have been doing more then, but usually if I was in school, I would have been. But because I'm at home, I'm just like do, like not really focused on that. And I think it messed me up a bit. So do you think like for you, like the pandemic had any effect?
I think the pandemic really exposed to me that we do school in a really weird way. Like, this is the 21st century, and there are people who are like, I've never heard of this online system that's existed for 20 years. And it's like, we've been in the technology boom since like the 90s, like the mid 90s. Like, did you miss the memo? Like, what? So for me, it kind of just exposed that there's another way of doing things. Like, I've definitely taken classes where like my professor's like, this textbook is so old, there is no audiobook. Yeah.
But so now moving on. Before this, like we discussed that we were doing this topic beforehand. And so I told Ashley to think in her head what was something she thought she'd be doing post college versus what she's actually doing, like to discuss that.
This is a really weird question because it goes back to like when you applied to colleges. So I don't know about anyone who's listening. I did not think that colleges actually reject you, right? When you watch TV, people are always opening letters like, oh my God, I got into the college of my choice. I had no idea that they give you it's like a real rejection. Like it's on the outside, like on the top of it, there's a seal. It says rejected. Like it's not even written in regular writing. It's like it's so rude. And it's like, oh, I had no idea. So the college I didn't want to go to, they didn't accept me. And so my life already took a different track. I had to go to a community college and I suppose get my grades up, even though I had a 4.0 GPA out of high school, had to get my grades up at a community college. Ended up loving it. I transferred to another 4-year college and I went to school for education and I hated it. So I transferred to another college and I went to school for social work. I also did not enjoy that at all. And so I did not expect any of this to happen, but I think the way that it happened worked out for me. I also did not expect to graduate and then go back to school for something totally different. Now I'm in the medical field. I've never done this before. This is totally new for me. So I wasn't expecting this at all. But I think that I wanted to just go to one 4-year school, meet the love of my life, get married, have kids, get a house in the South, and then just, I don't know, work for the rest of my life and then retire. Like the American dream goes. But I suppose that it's only afforded to people who like already have access to those things. If you already have access to property, then yeah, buying a house sounds reasonable. If you already have access to people who you think are marriage material, that sounds reasonable. If you have access to colleges and like college opportunities and like you understand how the college system works, that makes sense for you. If you want to have kids, or if you're around kids, or if you know you like kids, you know you want them, and that dream works for you. But none of that happens.
That's why I asked you it, because I want people to recognize that, you know, your plan's not, you can make a plan. I know adults, they love to say, have a plan, be ready with your college life so you're not wasting time. But the reality is nothing's certain. You can go and things just plummet. Like, you know, you hear Ashley's story and she went to different schools. I went to a PWI at first. It was terrible. Worse for my mental health, physical. I was like literally, I think I was malnourished when I came back home. So like so serious. I had lost a lot of weight because I was there and I was sick like just about every week. We have a friend who went there tomorrow. She went there and she would probably tell you that, yeah, I was like sick like every week. You know, so it was just really bad. And then I had to drop out. Well, withdraw, not drop out, but I had to withdraw. And this was after speaking to the dean of the school. He literally wrote me back an email. You should probably withdraw. And so that was literally the day before move-in for that next school year. So I had to do that. And at that point, no other schools were taking anyone. So I literally had to take a year off and just kind of deal with it. And then I luckily got accepted to Lincoln, which was greatest time of my life, greatest decision. But if you told me like so long ago that that's how things were going to go, I'd be like, no, you're insane. You're wild.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had a whole plan. I just knew I would finish school there. I was like, I don't even know what I think I was, I'd started there as a bio major. Mind you, my advisor told me I should probably switch majors because she didn't think I was even going to be capable to complete it. So that's a whole other thing. So I had all these people telling me I wasn't good enough to go into school and proving that I was good enough. And it just shows you like, you know, life's going to take turns, especially in college life. Things are going to happen. But you won't know until you actually go through them. You can have everything planned. You can have this amazing life, but it's not always going to turn out that way.
Yeah. And it's also like, for me, a lot of the people who were telling me like to go to college and like you have access to the American dream, these are the same people who have never lived the American dream. Like, what are you talking about? You haven't walked the walk. What do you mean it's real? I literally have never seen this happen. You. So all the people who were like, yeah, go to college and like do all these great things with your mind. And I'm like, you literally are going to be like no support, no help. Let me figure it out on my own. So I was kind of like on my own. I'm not first gen technically because my grandmother went to college. My grandmother had a master's degree before she passed. Like she was a teacher in Queens. Like she worked for the New York City Department of Education. So she was a teacher for like 40, 50 years, I think. She retired and stuff. So she had a master. Like I'm technically not first generation because she went to school, but I'm like the second person in my family line to go to college. So like nobody like knew anything. Like nobody knew anything. Like, no one was like, hey, like, yeah, like I know how to fill out all these forms you're filling out, or like I know about syllabuses and syllabi, and like I know about professors and like navigating like the campus and like trying to find out where everything is so you know where you're going. You're not always lost all the time. Because some campuses are gigantic. And your classes are nowhere near each other, but you're expected to get there in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
You gotta put a pep to your step. Pep to your step.
So it's like the people who were saying like, oh, you're not going to do well in this field are the same people who are not in that field. One, have no idea why I'm even interested in it. And two, three, they're not interested in me being successful in the first place. So why would you tell someone you're not capable of doing something? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like as an advisor, like I'm coming to you for support. Like, why would you tell me that? It's weird. Just advise me on my classes. Advise
me. But yeah, life just takes turns. So it's just crazy. Post-grad life, just knew that, I don't know. I don't even think I even knew. Like, I think everyone had this idea of what they wanted to do. Honestly, graduating college, graduating high school, I was still kind of clueless. I had said that I wanted to do physical therapy, but I was really just saying that because that seemed like the only kind of sort of interesting thing to me. So I just kind of went with that, and eventually I kind of like, I think I'm still like learning to love it more, but I can see myself doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I really even had a clue then what I wanted to do.
Let's also talk about the fact that after you graduate, like your entire schedule is just like,
Yeah.
gone.
I think that's an issue because you go from doing anything and everything to absolutely nothing, and you're stuck with your thoughts. You're stuck with where you're going next in life, and you have to figure that out. And now that you have the time, you're just sitting there dwindling like, oh my gosh.
I'm also just talking like just generally speaking. Like I remember like when I was a full-time student, because I also like I originally started my college career as a full-time student, so I was taking about 12 credits a semester, and I switched to a part-time student, so I had even more free time, kind of, but it was like my classes were more intense. That's why I was able to go full part-time and not really notice the difference. I feel like I was a full-time student the whole 6 years I was in school. But it was like when I graduated, I literally like what time was I waking up? Random times. Like when was I going to sleep? Random times. What time was I eating? Random times. It was like nothing was happening at the same time every day. When I went to school, I woke up at 8 a.m. every day, and like I had these classes lined up. And then by the time I went home, it was 10 o'clock and I was gonna go to sleep because I already ate dinner, and like things made sense. And then they just suddenly didn't. And I was like, whoa, what am I supposed to do about this? There's no one here to guide me afterwards. And some people are not able to go straight into the workforce. That's something else we need to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
You might not get a job in the field you went to school for.
True.
So I like that's also
have a job to this day, y'all, and it's been a solid while. It was May of this year. So, but I still don't have a job except for YouTube at the moment. So that's why I'm really just honed in on this and trying to be great, because honestly, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
I can't work as a PT until I graduate with my PhD in PT. So right now it's just like, I don't even know what I'd be doing.
Yeah. And there's also this conversation of like having a passion versus having an interest. Like they're not the same thing. Like I'm super interested in social work, but it's not my passion. Like I could talk to you all day about like PTSD and like complicated grief. We could talk all day about that, but that's like my heart is not really there. It's super interesting. Like my mind, like I know all the things you're supposed to know as a social worker. Everyone was like, why don't you just continue on and like go to masters, like go and get your master's in social work? And I was like, I would be super miserable. Like, do you want me to be the grouch? Because gladly. Gladly, I will never be in a good mood. And I'm going to gain a bunch of weight from stress eating, and I'm going to have anxiety. It's not going to be a good look for me. But it's like it was an interest, but it wasn't like where my heart was at. Like when I think about like going to school for social work, I wasn't like losing track of time reading the textbook and like losing track of time like looking up different articles about different things. I wasn't like, that's what I think passions are. Like you lose track of time when you're in.
Can I ask, does that even exist?
A passion?
No, not passion per se, but I've never seen a college student in their spare time look up like the stuff of their major, like as an assignment, yes, but never in their spare time. I have yet to see that, at least for me. I don't think I've seen it. Maybe I have and I just can't recall, but I don't think I've seen it.
I think
except art majors. I have seen art majors in their spare time, but that's art majors.
Yeah, I mean, when I was going to school for liberal arts, because it was like it's all over the place, you kind of like learn a little bit of everything. For a lot of my classes, I was writing research papers, and so I ended up doing research outside of the research papers. So that's where I'm getting this like getting lost in time, because I know my passion is reading. I just like reading books. I could get lost in a book, get lost talking about books. I love bookstores. I love libraries, literally my favorite places in the world. So I know books, like something about reading and books and like literature and like literacy. Like that's my passion. Like maybe like teaching people how to read is like my thing, or maybe like, I don't know, like leading book groups or something. That's my passion. But my interest is definitely mental health. I think mental health and like psychology, social work, so even sociology and anthropology, like all the social sciences are really interesting to me, but those are not my passion. So for anyone out there who's like wondering like, oh, I don't like love my major, that's okay. That's fine. You don't have to love your major, but if you would want to switch, I think you should make the switch very soon.
For sure, because you want to do something that you're actually passionate in. Like, you know what's weird? I actually thought about reconsidering and switching over to coaching, but I never did it because I felt like that's a lot. But PT is a lot too. So I don't know. I think I'm still navigating that, but I'm still trying to go to grad school for PT. So maybe that means something. I don't really know. I still don't know. I feel like I still don't know life. Like I still don't know where I'm going. I'm just going.
I don't know. As I get later into my 20s, this is another thing. If I wasn't told that the American dream happens immediately after you, like, who the hell decided we were adults at 18? That's part of the issue here.
Yeah,
like,
that's sick. I don't even think our minds fully develop until like 23.
25, actually. Your brain is not done developing until you're 25. And as a 25-year-old
that's when you hit adulthood.
As a 25-year-old now, I know more of what I want to do. Like, I know for a fact now that I would have just gone to school for social work. Like, if I had just waited 7 years after I graduated from high school, I would have just gone to school for social work and got a bachelor's maybe in a couple of years, versus me like just like doing this whole bum rush of like hustling so hard to get a degree. I would have probably enjoyed my time if I had went now and gone part-time and just taken my time through my classes and like getting to know people and getting to know like the subject matter and stuff. I would have gone to school for social work. Would have been no big deal. But because I went straight out of high school and I was like feeding for like the next degree, it was a mess. It was a hot mess. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, I definitely hear you about everything you said.
It's hot mess. This is your post-grad life. I want you to know that it's not glamorous in any way, shape, or form, unless you really have things figured out, which I kind of doubt, but you know, what do I know? But it's not as glamorous. I think as people assume, like, oh, you'll just come out the bat with the job. You'll get this many figures in about 2 years. You'll hit the highest peak of figures that you can possibly get. You have a great living. You'll be on your own. Chances are that year out or that first month, you're still kind of like in the struggle zone because now you're re-navigating. Now you got to figure out money. Now you got to figure out bills. Now you got to figure out what are you really going to do? Now you got to figure out like all these plans that you made for yourself. Are you really about to like get them?
There's also the stakes. The stakes are very high, right?
Yeah.
So people don't mention this at all because it's like a very internal thing. Like, I remember when I first graduated from high school and I was like, oh, I have like a high school diploma. And the first thing people were asking me, well, what are you doing next? I literally just walked out of the auditorium. I literally just left the auditorium. I'm in the cap and gown. I'm holding a fake diploma, by the way. It's not even a real diploma. So I have to wait to get the real one. And the first thing out of everyone's mouth, so what are you doing next? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe taking a deep breath, my dude. Like, I just went to school for 4 years.
I think we really need to stop asking people that. Stop asking them what they're doing next or what are you up to now? You got your degree. Oh, so what are you doing? Living. That's enough. I'm living.
I'm unbothered.
We really gotta stop asking people that because it puts unnecessary pressure on them.
Yes. And like Kaija was saying, like you have to worry about all of these things. The stakes are very, very high. And apparently, since you're an adult at 18, all of the support you had for me, in my experience, all the support that I had at 18 completely dried up. Everyone was like, well, you got it now. And I'm like, I don't have a job. I live with my parent, not my parents. I only had one of those. I live with my parents, and my parent is also struggling financially, mentally, spiritually, like physically. So now I have to like deal with helping my aging parents, and also like I'm in a new stage in my life where I have no idea what the hell is happening, but everyone is treating me like I do. Like I've done this before. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's so weird.
Weird, strange, unusual. Why?
Or I know people who like join the military because like I guess I just need the structure. Like, and it sucks. I feel like when you're Black and you're like live below the poverty line, you have so many limited options. People are like, you either join the military, you go to college, or the streets will get you. Apparently, that's what happens.
So many. I think also when you're Black. There's so many expectations placed on you, especially I feel like in this current age that we're in, they kind of just expecting all of us to do something or be great, start that business or do this, that. Like they just expect us to know, especially because like you said, we're in this age of technology, and if anyone knows technology, it's us. It's you know, these generations now. And so they're like, come on, you have all the tools you need. Back in my day, we barely had any of this. You have all this. You can do it all. What are you waiting for? And it's like, that pressure's
Taking a
still there
deep
for
breath.
me.
I'm
Yeah.
taking a deep breath. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting to exhale, okay?
It's like, just because we're in new times doesn't mean the pressure is any less. Honestly, it's even more now than I feel like back then. We had so much pressure on us to do so much because now it's like, you got to do it for your family. Make us proud. And it's like, we weren't able to do that, so you have to do it. And it's like so much placed on our shoulders.
And then when you graduate, the pressure is gone.
Yeah.
And then there is nothing. There's no stress. And you're supposed to be relaxed, but you're also not like setting any goals, working towards any goals. But it's like, okay, but I just did something. It was like, should I do something else? Like, should I keep going?
Because you've gotten so used to that pressure being on your shoulders that when it's not there, it's like, what am I doing? What am I forgetting? Oh my gosh, what's going on? Am I failing? What is happening? It's like,
am I allowed to be relaxed right now?
Yeah, you go through this weird, like, I don't know, crazy phase, trying to figure out where you went wrong and you didn't. The pressure's just gone. Take a breath, sit down.
I think if someone had told me that post-grad life would only be relaxing if I like had plans, because that was one of the other things. Like you were asking earlier, like, what did you think you were going to be doing? Mm-hmm. I thought I would like have a family or something to keep me busy afterwards. I've never had this much free time. Remember, we went to school straight out of high school. So we went to K through 12 school, and then we jumped into another educational institution. So there was like literally a summer, like 3 months in between college for me, maybe 4, because my classes kind of started at they started like the middle of September. I don't know why, but they usually started at August. I don't know what happened, but yeah, my class started the middle of September, and it was just like I had a little break, I guess you could say. So I was like, oh, I get to relax for a little bit now. I get to jump back into things, and I don't know. It's just like when I graduated, when I was like done, I guess with my bachelor's, I literally had nothing else to look forward to. It was like, oh, I was gonna pick up the bachelor's and just. What do I do afterwards? I can't afford to take a vacation because I couldn't work the whole time I was working in the bachelor's. I don't have any savings. Like, I'm not taking a vacation. Like, no one's taking me out to dinner because this is a pandemic. Like, no one's going to restaurants. I couldn't go to my ceremony because, I don't know, the school was fucking closed. So.
Wow. I got a ceremony, so I feel bad.
So it's just like, I don't understand. Like, if you have something to look forward to, I think that it'll lessen the blow of like suddenly having absolutely nothing to do with your time. Yeah. Unless, of course, you're a whole person and you have hobbies. You do things in your free time. Some of us didn't have time to do that. I did not have hobbies until recently. I'm 25.
Well, people always ask that too. I think that's another thing. You get wrapped up in school. Like, it's like your hobby becomes school. Is that weird? Not your hobby, I guess, like your hobby becomes hanging out with other people to work on school.
Right.
Like, so now out of it, people ask like, what's your hobby? And I'm like, honestly, I can't even tell you, because I would tell you, I feel like the things that you like to do is different from your hobbies, because your hobbies are things you actually do. But I have things that I do like to do. Do I do them enough? Do I do them as much as you would a hobby? No. But I feel like it's just weird, like when you're in school, how much it shifts the person that you are.
Yeah. And also for people who are listening who are in college, like the class says it's from like 1 to 2:15, but like you have work to do after the class is over. And so that's what's consuming all of your time. It's like you went to class, you went to the lecture, and now you have to study for the exam that's next week. And so now your time has to be divided between like now and next week, and make sure you get all these chapters, and you have to read them all and take all these notes. And then you have to like organize your notes into like flashcards. You have to like study for yourself. And it's like getting together study groups, like making sure you're sleeping enough before like, it's just like, it consumes so much of your time so quickly. And it's also just like trying to navigate that, like just having like all of your time consumed by like these very intense things that you're doing. And then again, with like the pressure being lifted, every time you have a midterm, the pressure is gone. Every time you have a final, the pressure is gone. And you have a little break, and then you just jump right back into it again. Like, it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it really is. It just keeps going and going and going. And then it's crazy because I remember my junior year, that was like that first year that's like the time, that first semester, my junior year, that's when I was like doing so much, like I feel like behind the scenes stuff. Like I was on the lacrosse club team. I was doing stuff with the chapel. I was going to things like, and I just couldn't keep up. Like I was trying to create this alternate life, like outside of just school focus. I was trying to actually have fun and, do things. And then that semester ended and I saw I wasn't on the dean's list for the first time. And the whole time I was there, and I just was like, never again. And I just went into super study mode every other semester, and then like work just became it. Like,
So we'll talk about grades and how people attach like their life's purpose, their life's meaning, their identity to their
GPA. I can tell you all about it. I mean, it's not healthy at all, but that is what I do, and not healthy.
Like, hey, what's your name? 4.0.
Like I was sick to my stomach graduating. I think was it it's like, isn't it like cum laude and then summa? What are the levels? But I was like literally 0.1 from being considered summa or something like that. I don't think y'all understand how sick I was in my stomach. Walking and seeing the little thing say that, and all I needed was 0.1. Like if one of my professors had just given me like a plus, life would have changed for me that day. I was so mad.
I hear you.
That 0.1, just that 0.1 though. Sick.
I think when the pandemic happened, I started to care about grades less. I saw like a post on Instagram and it was like, the world is supposedly ending and we're all taking finals for an abstract letter in the alphabet to go on a piece of paper we don't even see because it's all electronic. This is what we're really doing in America. And I was like, that's a good question. So when I released the pressure on myself to succeed so much, I started succeeding in my classes even more, and like things came a little bit easier, but it was like realizing like this is all like hustle culture, like just going really quickly, really fast towards your goals and not really stopping to like reflect and make sure you're actually working towards a goal you want to work towards. Like, you're not burning yourself out, like trying to get good grades. And like these numbers, let me tell you guys, no one has ever asked me my GPA. Okay. So you know, I'm just letting you know. I've also never been asked to show that I actually have a bachelor's degree. I could literally not have a bachelor's degree. No one would ever ask me.
You don't even need it on your transcript unless you have above a 3.5. They honestly don't even care, and they would prefer that you did not put it on your transcript. I mean, on your resume.
I'm just saying. So if anyone in here is like running themselves ragged, like really stop and think. These things don't matter. Like if it's just work towards your degree. Hopefully it's something that you like and nothing like you were like forced to do. Like I know a lot of people were like forced to like the med field because their family wants them to do that or something. Try to do what you want to do. Remember, you're spending time on this degree. You're the one studying, not your family, not your friends, like not like people who are like pushing you into this field because they can live vicariously through you. Like remember that, because when everything's all said and done, like these numbers don't matter. So those grades you're working towards, like no one's gonna ask you if you're valedictorian when you're 35 and you graduated 10 years ago. No one's gonna ask you.
No one's asking about any of this. Honestly, they just want to know what you got your degree in. Cool, calm. That's it. That's literally it. And I feel like also a lot of this is stuff you discover like undergrad. I mean, like post-grad life. Like you realize all these things. You're like, what was wrong with me? So if you're in college, I hope that you're still listening. This is not just for people who gone through post-grad because they would account for everything we're saying probably. But I think
also we're not real post-grads because we're back in school. Exactly. So we're not really post-grad.
It's sick. We're in the own cycle that we're talking about. We are so sorry. We're hypocrites, but it's okay.
We're not real post-grads.
It's okay.
Being honest.
It's okay. But I think also it's important that when you first high school, senior year, whatever year, you try to decide what college you're going to. I think you can let people give you advice, but I think don't let their advice overpower your thoughts about where you want to go and what you want to do, because often that can happen. I think like the PWI, my family was just like, go there. And then when things happen, they were like, we're so sorry. And it's crazy because, growing up, I loved Different World. That was it for me. And so I knew I always wanted to go to an HBCU, but I think I also saw other people applying to HBCUs who had better grades than me, I guess, and weren't getting in. So I took that as like an automatic no. I don't know why I did that, but I did. And so I just let all these like other factors kind of deter me from what I knew I wanted. And, it caused me to go down some bumps and road challenges or whatever. When I think if I would have just stuck to what I knew I wanted, the path, my process would have been easier. I'm so happy for what I went through and what I did, because I've learned a lot, saw a lot, and met a lot of people. But I think just my process would have been better if I would have just stuck to what I wanted, heard my family's ear, because again, they do have some input because they're paying. But at the end of the day, it's you going through the 4 years. It's your happiness, it's your mental health. It's what you're doing. As long as you're still you plan on reaching that main goal, graduating, and what you want to do, that's all that really matters. So I think making sure that you don't let anyone deter your mindset from what you know you're capable of and what you know you want out of these 4 years, because this is your life.
Yeah. Also, on the topic of like journeys, I think again, like with being like super like focused on like educational achievements, there's always a destination, right? Like you're always going to end up graduating, you're always going to get a degree, you're going to get a certificate, you're going to get like something, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what happens a lot for a lot of us is like we're in the journey and then we know the journey is going to end. When you're in life, that's not how things work. You're just in a journey. Like it keeps going.
A quick train stop, just a quick train stop, and you gonna hop back on.
Right. The pit stops in college are when the semester ends, right? You have midterms, finals, and then you know that they're at the very end when you're across the country that you're gonna get a degree. But in regular life, you don't get that. So I feel like that's again what I'm chasing. Like I don't know what else I can't just sit here in the journey. Like I'm not gonna sit on the train for this long. I want a pit stop or something. So pit stop here. Let's get a certificate here. Let's go to school for this thing here. And now I'm going to trade school. So it's like.
It was at this very moment in the podcast, Ashley got a knock on her door, so that's why it's kind of like the conversation ended abruptly and started back up abruptly, but we're still talking about the same thing, so keep listening.
I think I was talking about like goals and like being like in the journey. I think a lot of us again are taught to like not enjoy the journey, like just to like focus on the destination. But like, what if we actually did enjoy our time in college? Just like time in college, right? It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Some people have the luxury of doing that. Like I was never told like, oh, college is going to be fun for you. I was told you have to go because there is literally no other way to climb out of poverty. Like. You are living with crabs in a barrel. You're going to be, there are people just like waiting, watching for your downfall. So you need to climb up as quickly as you possibly can. That's what I was told. All this pressure on me to succeed. And also like your ancestors really worked hard for you to have these opportunities. Like don't take advantage of them. Don't take them for granted. And like, it was just like, what if I just enjoyed myself in my classes? Like, why was it not an option? Like, what if I maybe didn't get the best grades, but I made some good friends? What if I had some good food? What if I talked about some interesting things in class? What if I met some cool professors? And now I have references for jobs, which again, networking, you don't do that when you're so focused on books.
You gotta network, people. We're just gonna briefly speak on networking. That just hit a bone in my body. Like what? Because I had to take an internship class. Shout out to my advisor at the time and my professor. But she holds an internship class. Basically, if you're anyone who does health science, you have to go through this course in order to even graduate. And so with that, she kind of really just made us focus on networking. And so that's what we did. And we had to like make LinkedIns, reach out to people, and just build our networks up. And I didn't realize how important it was until I got out of school. And I was just so thankful because I was like, reaching out to all these PTs that could help me navigate this life that I want to go on, especially with grad school and stuff. And I've gotten so much feedback now from people. But if I didn't navigate, I would never know these people. I would never know their journeys. And a lot of them have helped me. Even one of them has even offered me to help out at his PT place, which, if I didn't navigate, if I didn't network, I wouldn't have known him or that or gotten that opportunity. So I think everyone needs to have a LinkedIn. So if you don't have one, go do that right now, or some kind of networking platform, because it can really help you. That's just what I learned about networking, and I'm passionate about it now. And everything I do for YouTube is literally through networking. So yeah, I think that's why I'm so keen on networking. Just do it. I know it's hard. A lot of people have anxiety when it comes to like reaching out to people. I have anxiety. I tell you that right now. I don't like phone calls. I don't like messaging people I don't really know like that. My heart starts to pump really fast. But networking is a thing that I feel like a lot of people need to do more of. Um, Honestly, when you're on social media, that's what you're doing. You're like networking. So make sure you're on these platforms doing it with professionals who you see yourself being like, because they can help you along the way. Even find yourself a mentor or something like that that can help you.
Networking is very important. I think it's really important to like dip your toes in the waters of networking. So I think there's like this huge, like this like weird like thing about it. Like, oh, you have to be like dressed to the nines and like you have to like, I don't know, like have business cards and stuff. Like you've got to like, I don't know, be super professional. Networking is like you could just literally meet someone and be like, hey, my name's Ashley. Take my number down in case, you know, in the future we need to like know each other or something. I have a couple of people in my phone for that reason. Then they started getting weird, so I had to delete their number. But I mean, for the most part, people are pretty normal about it.
It's important, even with your classmates. These are people, you know, they're in your class now, but it's so important to just even have some kind of way to contact them because you never know who they'll become. And so you may need them for something. You may need them as a reference or something, or they're helping something because now they're in this place of their field that they can help you in yours. So just even with classmates and just in classes, try to mingle with these people. You know, I'm not saying you have to like invite them to lunch or anything, but just have a way to reach out to them, just in case in the future you may need them and they may need you.
Yeah, and also with your professors. So I actually have pretty good relationship with professors. Like I just like I wouldn't say that I know them personally per se, but I like hung out in their office. Like, you know, I come by and I say hello, like how are you, Professor so-and-so? Even if I took your class many moons ago, I have professors who are like, whatever you need, reference letter, like I can show up in a job interview for you, just because I like go to their office and I say hello. So it's like, go out of your way to get to know professors.
For sure.
They're pretty cool people. They're just people.
Not
they're not horrible people. They're just people.
They're really cool. I was that person like on campus. I was cool all the way down to like the cleaning crew. Like I'll say a hi to you. I don't know why the adult staff, they're fire. Like people sleep on them. I feel like they are really cool people. A lot of the professors I'm cool with. There's people that I took my freshman year that were still speaking to me like seniors. Like my professor, he knew my last name. Some of y'all know, some of y'all don't. It's H. But he would, every time he saw me, he would yell my last name. I can be in a class. This man would step into the class and go, H, hey. And I'm like, sir, I'm in class. But like, you know, it just takes time, especially if you're that student who's always about their work, they're going to notice that. And they're even going to help you out. Because that same professor, his final was like 200 multiple choice. And some students who he felt like were, I guess, deserving enough, he let us write a paper instead. And the paper, you could just keep going to him to get it checked over and over again instead for final. So that's what I got versus the 200 multiple choice that they had to take that day. So just make friends with do your work, stay on top of your game, make friends with your professor because they're cool people and they'll help you.
Also, they want to get to know students. They just don't want you to sit in their class and just like, I don't know, like just turn in work. Like they want to get to know you as a person. Like they're interested in knowing who's in their classroom and like, what are your goals in life? Because if they can help you get where you're trying to go, like, how do you think professors got where they're trying to go? Like probably a professor of theirs, like helped them get where they are. So it's like, really just like throw on the charm, throw on the charisma. Like, hey, I really enjoyed today's class. Like the topic about, I don't know, mass incarceration was like really interesting. I'm really happy that like I was able to sit in and like hear this. Like, this was a great discussion and I'm looking forward to writing the paper next week. Or the exam was a little difficult for me, but it's pushing me to study a different way. Like talk about your study methods and also like ask them personal questions about yourself. Like, how did you get into this field? Like, do you like what you do? Like, what did you do to get where you are right now? How many degrees do you have? Like, what's your like educational background? Like, they're just people, right? Who have stories of their own to tell. So get to know professors, definitely get to know people in your class. And try to stay in contact with people after you like don't see them face to face. So the way that I learned about like references in the first place, is how I know networking is super important. You need to know the person or have been in contact with them 6 months before you ask them for a reference letter. So don't just like ghost people for 2 years.
That part.
Just like say, hey, how are you? Remember we took such and such class together. Good to talk to you again. Like, what are you up to these days? Or like, actually, professor, like I took your class a few years ago, but I'm just checking in on you, seeing if you're still teaching the same classes. Like, do you teach any other classes, maybe more advanced level classes? I'd love to take another class with you.
See, I was just I didn't really ask my professors too many questions. I feel like only if I needed it for schoolwork. But with me, I'm that student who comes to class early, like at least a hot 5 minutes early or so, just because I am stickler for time. But I think in those instances, it allowed me and the professors to really like, they're like, hey, so what's going on? Like they'll start a conversation with you if you're early or something like that. Or, if you are in their office for help, they'll help you out in some way too. So I think just, make an effort. Honestly, they just want to see that you're making an effort some way to like do well, achieve your goals, I guess.
And also, like grades and like assignments, like that's about obedience, right? Like getting a good grade means you just follow directions really well. Like who are you outside of someone who like can write a paper? Like what's your story outside of somebody who can read a textbook and like carry on a discussion? Like who are you outside of this like school person? Like try to really form your like social identity. And like, yeah, I actually currently have my own business cards now. They just say that I'm a book enthusiast. That's what I do for a living. Right. So it has my phone number and my email address on it and my name. So I made those on Canva. They were $12 for 25. Not expensive at all. Actually, I'm lying. They were $12 for 50.
See, she's putting y'all on. If y'all need a business card, go get one.
You can custom make them yourself and like you can have them laminated and they'll get mailed to you. So if you're feeling really nervous, like I have no idea what to say, just like, hey, my name's Ashley. This is what I do in my free time. I'm a book enthusiast. If you're feeling like you need to text me or contact me, here's my business card. Like there's my email, my phone number. It was nice meeting you in class or something, right? And they won't forget that you like gave them a business card that says something weird on it. Like I'm a film critic. Like, are you really?
I despise the elevator pitch, but I'm pretty sure the elevator pitch works. If you're in an elevator with someone who looks like, I don't know, or like if you're in a certain building specific for something, they look like they work there, the elevator pitch will come in handy. I don't like elevator pitch. I despise it. Anxiety on level 10,000. But if that's something you're good at, go for it.
Also, small talk makes me want to throw up. But you have to get really good at it if you're trying to network. It's just like acing, like having like one question, like what do you do for a living, or like where are you from, or like what brings you to this event?
I live for where you're from. It's so easy just to like, where are you from? I'm from New York. It's like one of the most easiest things you can ask. But otherwise, yeah, I think just something basic that that you want to know and they'd want to know back, basically.
Right. And you can also like, if you're someone who doesn't like small talk like me, you can always like allow the questions to bleed into something a little bit bigger, right? Like, oh, like what do you do for a living? Like, how'd you get into this field? Like, why do you like what you do? Like, is this your passion or your interest? Things can just get deeper and deeper from there. Like they're just like little branches on a tree that lead to like an entire tree. So you have a lot of options there.
For sure.
And conversations with people are really interesting. Like you'd be surprised to know people's stories. Like some people are like, yeah, I work in like corporate finance, but like my educational background is in like applied psychology, like behavioral psychology. Why do you work in corporate finance?
How did you get there?
I had a boss. I had no idea. She's like a super math. She's like a mathematical prodigy. She has a bunch of awards for math, and she originally went to school for math, but she randomly switched her major to music because she found out she loves music. Like she can learn any instrument. She's like one of those like people who plays multiple instruments now because she just switched her major. So like if you were to talk to her, you'd be like, oh, it gets cool. She works in administration, right? Like, this is what she does for a living. She's like an event planner. So she works in administration, but she's also like a math whiz, and also like she plays a bunch of instruments and she makes her own music, just shows and stuff. She's also like a crafts person. Like she like makes like crafts with her. Like she's just so talented. It's like from looking at her and like maybe asking her like, where are you from? Like you'd learn so much. Just if you let the questions lead into other questions, you'd learn so much.
Well, that's really been it. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say, Ashley? I don't know why I just said your name like that. Just go
I
ahead.
definitely want to say, for anyone who has the post-grad blues, do not just go to school just to fill your time. Please don't.
Because then you'll be
Try
an
to do
addict.
something else. Do anything else because you want to figure out why you feel so bored and empty. Okay, it's because you don't do anything else that's fulfilling in your life. You need to get some hobbies, some interests, some things that you do for fun. Because being stressed should not be the way that you're having fun.
When having stress becomes the only normal thing in your life, there's an issue with that one right there.
Also, don't get obsessed with like trying to get a goal, like trying to reach a goal. It's okay to do nothing. Like you're just alive. That's a goal. It's like not to eat, to drink 8 cups of water a day. That's a real goal. Some of us barely hit 4. Okay. I drink a gallon a day, so I'm not speaking for myself.
Okay. Not for me either. I drink like a solid 4 water bottles.
Exactly. So if you're struggling, there's like you can set other little goals, but like do not just jump into school because you think you're bored or you're not doing anything meaningful with your life. You just got a degree. You just got a certificate. Like it's okay to chill out.
There
Do not
is
jump
meaning
into
in just living. There is a lot of meaning in just living. Just do that. It's good for you. Just do it.
And I would also say, don't listen to people who are telling you to get another degree who don't have other degrees, and like filter out the nonsense. Okay. Like don't let people feed into you what you should be doing with your time. Like just spend your time how you're spending it, and don't feel bad about yourself. If you just graduated, you don't have a job. Like, why would you get a job as soon as you graduated? Like, when did you have time to apply to jobs when you were studying? Tell me. How would you get a job as soon as you graduated? And if you live with your parents,
especially if you have no experience. How?
Don't feel bad about yourself. You're just trying it. You're working out the kinks. Let the kinks work themselves out. They will.
They definitely will.
I'll say that. And don't stop making plans for your lives. My cousin told me one time, plans are great, but what happens with plans is when it doesn't go accordingly, you have to have a plan B, plan C, plan D, plan double D in case the D doesn't work. And there's a vein of the D plan that could work. And then I'm like, and then he was like, that sounds ridiculous, right? People do it all the time. They're constantly just like changing the way that they're doing things when you could just have a blueprint. You can erase stuff and move things around. So have a blueprint. You have a general idea. I want to go to school. I want to study this thing. If I can't graduate in exactly 4 years, that's okay. At least my end goal is to get this degree in this thing. I'll just take my time getting it. So those are my last pieces of advice. Do not jump into another degree or certificate program or a trade school. That counts too, because that's where I am right now.
Don't be us. Don't be us. Be better than us. And that's no pressure on that. No pressure at all on that. Don't be us. Be yourself and just live. Yes. No pressure.
We're not even real post-grads. Like we're a whole lie.
No pressure.
We don't even practice what we preach. But like, don't be us. Like, be different. Live your life unbothered by like academic stress.
Don't worry, y'all. We'll re-listen to this back and then we'll take our own advice and maybe we'll come back in a hot few months with a better understanding for ourselves. But we're just going to tell you this because this is what we know and this is what we realize. And so we've got to get it out so someone could be better and do better.
Yes.
Cool. Well, that has been I don't know why I decided to start singing today, but that has been the entire episode of Not That You Asked, where me, your host, talks about anything and everything that no one asks us to talk about. And until next time, make sure y'all listen on Spotify. And I'm sorry for the late upload from last week, but it's up there. Make sure y'all listening to that one as well. But until next time, y'all. See ya. Ashley, say bye. She's holding up a peace sign. You guys can't hear that part, and I don't think she comprehended that, but she said bye too.
Bye, everybody.
So, bye.